Hey, what's up? So, I survived, and this is my survival video. I'm proud of myself, and so I wanted to share it. This is my new room that I'm in, which is bigger than my last room, and the house that I'm in with the people. It seems like it's a better fit, so I'm going to be able to stay here longer. And yeah, it's just been quite a journey. I mean, I've been thinking about it, what it took for me to get here. And it's like, moving into this place, I realized that like my world is it's crumbled so many times. Like ever since I sold my condo, I moved to a big city, and then I got involved with a girl and stuff like that, and then that crumbled and I had to move. And then I went traveling and I went to Mexico, and then I ended up with another girl, and then that fell apart. And then that place that I was staying in, I had to move because they wanted to rent it out to their daughter. So then moved to another place. And then, it's around the time when I started making YouTube videos. And that was when there was stuff going on in the house once again that I wasn't into putting up with. People having loud sex, and that was not cool. And with me, it's cool for them, of course. And then I had my job there at the Fraser River, or I don't want to call it. Anyways, at a fishing lodge, and that was challenging. And then I packed everything up when I got fired, when I got back from a festival, and then I ended up traveling in my car for a year and going down to the States and into Mexico, and that was a thing. I very distinctly remember one time when I was in Yuma, when I guess that's in Arizona, I think, right? And so I'm there, and you're basically on the border of the States and Mexico at that point. And it's like, but making the choice to go into Mexico is quite a thing, because northern Mexico isn't really a place where you want to be. There's not a lot to do or see there. And so you have to, it's a commitment if you're going to cross the border and go all the way down. And I was just like, I was following my heart, and I was going where the wind blew me, but it was tough, like living in a car, and it's just like, holy cow, what am I doing? Questioning it, having faith, but also questioning it along the way. And I remember that there was this, I went into like Five Guys because they got good French fries, and I was sitting there eating some French fries, eating some garbage food, just because I wanted a little bit of comfort food. And I remember they had some music playing in there, and there was a Bob Dylan song that came on, like a Rolling Stone, where he says things. He's just like, where you're gonna have to scrounge for your next meal. How does it feel to be on your own with no direction home, like a Rolling Stone? And it hit me hard, because I was at a place in my life where that was me, where it's just like, oh my God, like, what am I doing? Where am I going? How am I gonna move beyond where I'm at and what I'm doing? Does it even make sense? Is it viable living this way and on this trip? I was kind of like on a one-way path, and it's just like, at what point do I turn around or give up or go home? And it's just like, it's pretty it was a pivotal time in my life. And then I remember I went in, that song, I never really got Bob Dylan until that song, in that moment, in that Five Guys in Yuma. And then I ended up I was like, okay, well, it was too windy there, and it's, we're talking November-ish, and I was like, well, I didn't want to stay there because it's not the best climate for me living in my car. And so I was on my way out and stopped by a cafe, and there was like a Bible quote on the on the wall, and it was Corinthians something, and it says, we walk by faith, not by sight. You know, and when I read that, it's like, you know, it helped to, you know, muster up the courage essentially to continue with my journey with what I was doing. And I did make it. I jumped over to California, went to Encinitas, to where one of my yoga schools is, and stayed there for a bit, met up with my cousin, and another friend, and that was pretty cool. And then I ended up going down to Mexico, to La Paz, and that's where I started making YouTube videos again. And so, and then ended up coming home and then moving into a place which wasn't long term. It never was supposed to be, but it really didn't work out. Like, I had my absolute fill of the place, and then I moved on. And then I found myself living in my car again, and it was cool for about 30 seconds. Then you realize that it's just like what it is to live in a car, how you have to find a place to sleep every night, and just the uncomfortableness of it. And it was pretty lousy, you know, I have to admit. But I mean, a process that I had to go through. I mean, I don't regret anything that I guess I shouldn't eat right now, but I've always wanted to make a video where I do eat stuff, but it doesn't make sense because I have a mouthful of words. So there's just no time. I think it would be disrespecting people's time if somebody actually took the time to watch my video and I sat there and took time to eat. Although it would be funny to me, like, it's funny in thought, you know, in theory, but anyways. And then so, yeah, you know, damn near 3 months of living in my car again. And but had a little realization and certainly made some videos about that. And now I find myself here, and it's good. And it's like, it just really feels good to be in a place that I don't think I'm going to get kicked out of anytime soon, and it's not just going to crumble because it's not based on like a relationship that could fall apart, or there's no like deadline for me being here. I'm allowed to be here. I'm welcome to be here. You know, and it feels good because it's like, I was thinking about it, it's like I never wanted to move once. Like, I always wanted to set up shop, to stay wherever I was, but that's just not how it worked out. You know, and it's been frustrating to say the least. It's been challenging. I mean, it's pushed my every button that, like, no matter what I do, the world just slips out from under my feet. You know, like so many times. And it's, and so, here I find myself, and it's good. You know, it was tough though, because towards the end of this journey living in my car, it's really annoying looking for a place to rent on Marketplace. It's just navigating that world and sitting on your phone. I do not like to sit there and be on my phone, and your thumbs get sore from scrolling through Marketplace so much. You just go. Really annoying. But eventually find a place. Then, like, the last little while there, I was unhappy. You know, like, it reminded me of when I did sell my condo, and I was working at a greenhouse, and like my job, I was in-house building maintenance, so I would fix things around there, and I had been there for 2 years, longest I'd ever held down a single job. And I fixed everything. I made all of the improvements. I organized everything, and then there was nothing for me to do. And so, like, the last few days, it was just grueling. It was just like, I don't want to be here. There's nothing for me to do. I'm wasting my time. It's just like, it was painful being there. And it was very similar being in my car, living there this time towards the end. And so I decided to essentially try to enjoy myself to the best of my ability for the last week of living in my car, even though, it's just kind of like the days just one after another, and it was not the best. But I kind of went on a little bit of a tear where I was, like when I say drinking every day, I mean having one beer or maybe two, but never more. And I was enjoying myself a bit and going out for dinners and things like that. And I was hanging out with buddies, like I said in another video, I was smoking weed, right? And so I was, letting loose a little bit. But then, so I got into this place, and it was weird because I found it hard to stop, because it was like I was traumatized by the experience just of living in my car of the last year, the last few years. Like when I moved out of that last house, I had to go through a very conscious process of letting go and dealing with the traumatic experience that it was living in that place. I was not happy at all. It was disturbing, and it was very challenging. And so same thing with living in a car. I mean, it is a toxic environment living in a vehicle. Like you're just driving around constantly, and you end up compensating for that horrible way of life. And you got to find somewhere to sleep, and then sometimes those places get taken away, and it's just like you really it's a struggle. So pretty lame. And I recognize it was weird because it's like I moved into this place, and it's like I hadn't fully committed, because it's like you move into a place, it's like, oh, I wonder what these people are going to be like. Are they what if they're really uptight and it's not going to work out? So at first I was like, I don't even want to bring my stuff here, like bring my bed here and things like that. But eventually I was like, okay, got to know the people, and it's like, no, it made sense. And there were some other things too, like the name of the street is actually the last name of one of my best buddies. So it was, there were these little synchronicities that kind of added up, and it's like, okay, no, this is going to work. It's okay. I am in a place, I'm safe, I'm welcome, and I'm going to be able to stay here until I am ready to move on, not when, the floor falls out from under me and I am left, clutching, not clutching at straws, but you know what I mean? And so, yeah, it was tough because I was like, compensating for my frustration, for my sadness, for my anger, for what it's worth. Anger just meaning that feeling that you have when there's when you witness something that's incongruent with what you understand to be correct. And it's like I guess it bothered me that I was in that situation, because I honestly really put in an effort. I try in life, and it's just like, why can I not seem to get my act together? Like despite everything, despite any of my redeeming qualities, it's just like no matter what I do, I just seem to relationships crumble. Some people I push away, some people I tell to F right off, right? I mean, don't get me wrong, but like it's frustrating when it's like I don't know what I gotta do to like come full circle and whatnot, right? And so yeah, it's dealing with my own challenges and stuff like that. And like I said, I was on a tear. I was indulging in things towards the end of my stay in my car. Then I'm in here, and still every day that's all I wanted to do was essentially intoxicate myself in a variety of ways, which include stimulants and what do you call them? And I'm talking weed and alcohol, right? And eating junk food. And it was weird because it's like I can see myself going through this behavior, but I was able to recognize that it's like that is the behavior of somebody who is dealing with trauma. You know, and I know because like I just did this course on being a sensitive person. It's like highly sensitive people get traumatized for breakfast. You know, it is very easy for something to, rub you the wrong way, which, gets you thinking about it and working on understanding it. And there's a lot that is involved with things. It's not, it's easy for a highly sensitive person to become overwhelmed, just like over and traumatized and whatnot. So, but recognizing this, the other day, our last weekend, it's like, okay, I'm here. I made the decision to actually stay. And then I was like, okay, this has to stop. But it's weird when you're on a bit of a path. It's like, how do I stop? Why can't I stop? And of course, this is a big thing for a lot of people when, like, you see people on the street, homeless people, people who are addicted to drugs, who are addicted to escapism in its myriad of forms. How do you stop? You need to hit the nail on the head. You need to address the issue. You can't treat the symptom. You need to treat the root cause. And that's a tricky thing, because how do you put your finger on that kind of a thing? But for myself, I know that there is a way, and it is something that I used to rely on heavily in my life, and that was entheogenic substances. And for myself, before I began walking the path of yoga, I had an intimate relationship, and I still do, with the sacred mushroom. And so now that I'm really progressing in my yoga and my meditation, I've sat at the feet of the master and listened and paid attention, and I practice. And so now it's like, if that it's not a way of life, but it's like for myself, drastic measures or whatever, right? It's like I needed medicine. I could tell that I was sick. I was exhibiting behaviors of a sick person. And so I have participated in many ceremonies. I used to hold space for people as well. And so I understand how to do this for myself. And so I did this one morning here in this room, where I ate an amount of mushrooms and St. John's wort as an MAOI, as a mild broad spectrum MAOI, and just laid down and, at first just lay down with my eyes closed and just breathe, and then eventually, when, I don't know, I think I did that for a bit, and then, I cried for a while, because there was something in me that was sad, that was troubled, that was hurt by the experiences that I had. And so I eventually got up and I started writing, and I wrote about my pain, about what I had experienced over the last little while, the journey, the challenges that I had gone through, and how I felt about it all. And it was entitled Indulgence, because that was the theme. It's just like I could tell, because normally I don't do that. Normally I walk a very straight and narrow path, but I got on this other path, and then it was hard to get off. And then so I wrote about it, and it was really beautiful because it kind of tied in with all the stuff that I've been learning about sensitivity and things like that, and just other kind of concepts that I've been working on in recent times. And so I wrote a really nice piece. This thing came out, and then on the other side of it, I felt much better, and I have completely cleaned up. I have not been feeling the need to eat junk food or to intoxicate myself or even like drink coffee anymore, because that was a thing. I was drinking coffee every day. I was still doing stuff. I would, because when I was living in my car, I was going to the gym every day. I was practicing yoga every day and this and that, right? But I mean, so anyways, I got through it, and I'm just grateful that I knew what to do. I knew how to find my way out of the rabbit hole, because I think that's a scary place to be, when you're headed in a direction that isn't gonna lead you to somewhere, it's not taking you to where you need to go. I mean, it is in a sense, it's how you look at it, right? But there is a time in life where sometimes you need to stop, or you need to slow down, and you need to let go, and you need to distance, and there's things. And so yeah, like I'm not going to repeat myself. I went through what I did. I'm grateful for it all, and now here I am. And it's interesting because I'm now going through my stuff that has been in storage for years, and I'm finally able to kind of like piece it all together. I'm piecing my life back together, and like really, of course, I've come a long way in that time. I mean, in that time I've become a yoga teacher and stuff like that. It's not like I haven't made advancements. I'm not making it out like that's not the case, but it's just like, yeah, it feels good to clean up the whole mess and to move on with life, because it's life is awesome. So it's good to be able to embrace it, and and not succumb to the trials and tribulations, and to certainly not be to deal with it all anyways. So that's my story for today.